Hello and welcome to AI Market News by LM. Okay, we've got some massive news shaking up the tech world. Tim Cook is stepping down as CEO of Apple. So, the big question on literally everyone's mind is, could this be the end of the iPhone era as we know it? Let's get right into it.
You know, it's really hard to overstate just how huge this is. Tim Cook, he took the reins from Steve Jobs, and, well, he turned Apple into a $4 trillion monster, expanding into everything from watches to streaming and even financial services. His departure, it's truly the end of a defining era, not just for Apple, but for the tech world as a whole.
So, with Cook shifting to an executive chairman role, the future of Apple is now in someone else's hands. And let's be clear, this is way more than just a simple personnel change. It could signal a real shift in the very soul of the company. So who's the one taking over? All right, let's take a look at who's now in the driver's seat and try to figure out what this new chapter for Apple's actually going to look like. And what's really fascinating here is the contrast. I mean, Tim Cook was the undisputed master of operations, right? He squeezed every last drop of efficiency out of the supply chain. But his successor, John Ternus, he's a product guy through and through. We're talking about a 25-year Apple veteran who's led engineering on everything, the iPhone, the Mac, you name it. And while, yeah, some insiders call him a Tim Cook Jr. because of his meticulous style, his deep focus on hardware really suggests we could be seeing a major pivot back to pure product innovation.
And wow, Ternus is stepping in at such a critical time. He's facing this immense pressure to catch up in the AI race, where, let's face it, Apple is seen as being a bit behind. He also inherits that super complex geopolitical dance with China, a relationship Tim Cook managed with like a diplomat's touch. And of course, all eyes are glued to the product pipeline. We're all waiting for those rumors of a foldable iPhone, which could be his first major reveal this fall.
Of course, a leadership change at a company as huge as Apple doesn't happen in a vacuum. Nope. It's landing smack in the middle of a market that's already kinda on edge. So to really get what the stakes are for Apple's new leader, we've got to zoom out and take the market's temperature. And if we look at the CNN Fear and Greed Index, well, we can see the market is just completely torn. We've got a whole lot of greed, which is being driven by some pretty strong fundamentals, but at the same time, there's a healthy dose of fear thanks to all the global uncertainty. It is a classic tug-of-war between optimism and caution right now.
And we're seeing that exact same divided sentiment reflected in the major indices. I mean, after an absolutely incredible run, they're pulling back just a little bit from those record highs. The NASDAQ just snapped a pretty remarkable 13-day winning streak. It really feels like the market's been holding its breath, and now it's trying to decide which way to jump.
So what's really behind all this? What's causing this push and pull for investors? Let's break down the key forces at play. When you get right down to it, it really boils down to three major forces that are all battling for control of the market narrative right now. Okay, so on one hand, we've got corporate earnings that are surprisingly resilient, and that's giving stocks a really solid foundation. But pulling in the complete opposite direction are these huge geopolitical risks, specifically those ongoing US-Iran negotiations that are making energy prices swing all over the place. And then, kind of lurking underneath everything, is the fear of stubborn inflation. We've seen some recent data from overseas that's raising red flags for central banks pretty much everywhere. And we can see these global pressures playing out directly in the key currency markets. The euro, for example, is feeling some pressure against the dollar, mostly because of all the uncertainty around what the European Central Bank is going to do next. Meanwhile, the US dollar just keeps strengthening against the Japanese yen. It looks like the Bank of Japan is staying on hold, and that's making the yen pretty vulnerable to any trade shocks.
And hey, speaking of central banks, maybe one of the biggest uncertainties for the entire global economy is unfolding right now in Washington, D.C. We're talking about a major political battle over who's going to lead the U.S. Federal Reserve. And we have to remember, the Fed chair, that's arguably the most powerful economic job on the planet. Their decisions on interest rates literally ripple across the entire globe, affecting everything from our mortgage rates all the way to the stock market.
So get this, right now, the succession for that top job is pretty much in chaos. The current chair, Jerome Powell, his term is up on May 15th. The nominee to replace him, Kevin Warsh, is facing a very contentious confirmation hearing today. But because of a political standoff, his confirmation is being blocked. This is creating a totally unprecedented situation where Powell might actually have to stay on as an interim chair, maybe even until a key senator's term ends way out in 2027. This is a massive wild card for the markets.
Okay, so with all of that swirling around, let's look ahead. what are the key data points we should be watching to see how all these stories develop.
And for that, we're going to turn to the economic calendar from investing.com to see what high-impact events are just over the horizon.
All right, so for today, April 21st, the big one to watch is the retail sales report. That's at 8:30 a.m. U.S. time, and it's a super crucial indicator of consumer health. Then we'll also get data on business inventories and pending home sales at 10 a.m. And a little later, at 11:30 a.m., we've got a speech from Fed Governor Waller, which could give us some fresh clues on what the Fed is thinking amid all this leadership chaos.
So where does that leave us? We're at this absolutely fascinating crossroads. We've got brand new eras beginning at both the world's most influential tech company and its most powerful central bank. The stage is set for massive, massive change. The only question is that change going to bring the next great wave of innovation or the next big shock to the system? This video is automatically generated by NotebookLM, an AI-powered tool. The reference sources used in the summary are listed in the video description. As this content is AI-generated, there may be errors in proper names, pronunciation, or unnatural speech. This video does not provide investment or trading advice. Please make investment decisions at your own discretion. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.